How many dimensions are in this universe? 12. It's a very clear answer, and I'm surprised there's so much misinformation out there for you guys. There's a lot saying there's 11. That's poppycock. So I'll explain to you how they all work, explain to you why there's 12, and when you start understanding the organization behind them, you'll understand how it all has to work. But I think it's more important to understand the function of them so that you understand how they can help you, right? So, hi, I'm Dorian Matney. I was awakened at 12 and started guiding souls for the last 35 years to their true self and to align with their purpose. Through that, I have studied the heck out of everything I could when it comes to spiritual growth, to consciousness expansion, and learned a lot from my own journeys and from the journeys of my students that I want to help share with you guys now, because I'm seeing a lot of bullshit information out there. So let's clear it up, okay? So subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date. I got a bunch of stuff that's going to shock the shit out of this world. So you want to stay up on that one. And here we go. Let's dive in, okay? So my videos, my style is I like to move kind of swift because you guys can always pause it and rewind it if you need, okay? So, but I know I like to kind of cruise. So here we go. All right. So the dimensions, there's 12 of them. What is it? What's going on with this? Okay. So 1, 2, 3 dimensions, you actually know these ones, right? So third dimension is that 3D, right? 2 dimensions is that flat sheet, right? And 1 dimension would just be the point. So you know these ones. Now the next ones. So they're kind of in groups of 3, all right? So the 4, 5, 6, let's talk about that. So in one of the biggest differences when you go from third to fourth, the fourth one incorporates more unconditional love. Third, you don't really feel it as much, right? And so that's kind of the beauty of it, and I'll get into that. So with the fourth dimension, often this is mistaken for heaven, because after a soul has its incarnation, there needs to be this processing time, right? Because boy, this is a heck of a life we go through, yeah, right? Like lots of stuff to learn, to understand, and to process, to integrate, and it's very difficult while we're living it, right? So once you're out of the body, it's much easier to reflect and look back, and that's what the fourth dimension offers. It's really beautiful because it's full of this unconditional love, and I always call this fuzzy love because it doesn't have the crystalline wisdom that comes from above. And I'll explain this, but it's actually good because it's like healing. It's just a bunch of healing. Like you just feel like you're inside a bunch of cotton candy of love. And so while you have guides that help you understand the experiences you went through, right, so they make sense, and that you can learn so that when you come back, you can practice and change. Yeah. So fourth is really cool, but it's like a bridge. So you don't stay there. You either move on to the fifth or you go back to the third. So, and most are coming back to the third because, you know, we got to keep practicing. So in moving to the fifth, now this is a lot of stuff out there about the 5D Ascension. So I will make a separate video on that because that needs its own kind of focus. So I try to keep these videos one focus per the video. So we'll link that as well. I'll make that probably tomorrow. So there will be one on the 5D Ascension, what's happening, and if you can come along. And so 5D, what's happening with 5D? 5D is actually very similar to here in the way it would look to you. So you still get to have a body, you still get to eat food, you still get to hang out with friends, have a house, drive around, all that stuff is the same. But a whole lot's different in the perspective, because in the fifth dimension, it's more about universal love, not that unconditional love, universal love. This is a little different. And in this case, instead of looking at life as win-loss, which is the way we see it now, in the fifth dimension, it's very easy to see it as win-wins. And that fundamental shift kind of evaporates scarcity mindset, right? Because now it's not about loss or the chance of loss. It's that it's actually every action provides a chance for gain. So, sound cool? Here's a quick example of that. So like you may feel like someone hurts you. It happens, right? I've been betrayed plenty of times. It sucks, and it doesn't make any sense because I didn't do anything for it. But here's another way of looking at it. So one way it can look like somebody took something from you. Sure, that's kind of third dimensional view. But another way is you always gain something, right? In this case, if an experience that hurt me, then I gained something I learned that really doesn't work for me. It's reinforced some of my own wisdoms. It's also taught me something maybe I didn't know about the person. So in this specific example of a betrayal, I actually can gain on many things. So there's not really a possibility for anybody to take from you. because there's always a way to flip it and recognize what you gained. That little game, that little mental gymnastics game right there, that shifting of that perspective, that's more fifth dimensional. Okay, there's a lot more to it, but that gives you a taste of how you can just kind of flip things, and it feels different, right? So the fifth dimension is very, very cool. And I'm very excited for many of the souls to come along. No, not everybody is, and that's okay, because some people just need the longer path back home. So that's the fifth dimension. Now, interesting. So the sixth dimension. Now, the sixth dimension, from fifth to sixth, there's a difference, because the way I feel it is that fourth is very, very warm, fuzzy love, right? Fifth is also warm, but it starts to kind of neutralize, feel a little bit more normal, like here. Sixth, it gets like a little more colder, and it's not cold in the sense of distant. It's cold in the sense of like fresh snowfall, and the way the air gets more crisp, right? It's that freshness. It's that crystalline nature. So sixth dimension is much more crystalline in nature, and its wisdoms have been crystallized, right? So the difference between rain and snow is the crystallization. Yeah. So the sixth is more this. Guess what? This is where a lot of your ascended masters hang out. So characters like Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Mother Mary, all these ascended masters, they choose mostly to hang out in the sixth dimension. And the reason for that is that it's closely related back to third, but they have enough distance and enough place where they have their crystallized wisdoms that they can help kind of in an undistorted way. They tend to resonate well there. So if you venture up into the sixth, you can meet them. They'll come talk with you, and you'll feel them. They're not cold at all. It's quite warm. It becomes more divine love, right? So we kind of went from fourth, which is, so third is conditional love. Fourth is unconditional love. Fifth is universal love, right? And then sixth is like crystalline love. It's divine love. Still in form, because we're still in the form at the sixth. So the reason I say that is because when we get to the seventh, eighth, ninth, this little grouping, the form starts shifting quite a bit, but not as much as the next group. So we'll get into this. So seventh, what happens with seventh? Seventh has more to do with cosmic laws. So like how things actually just work, right? So it's like the rules of the blueprints. But then here's the interesting part. So the eighth dimension is where the divine blueprints are made, but here's the thing: they're not drawn like specific. And what do you mean? What the blueprints? The blueprints are like the journey of experience. So laying out the whole scenario for all of this. So in the eighth, that's where these blueprints are drawn, but they are not drawn specifically like hard-coded. They're drawn as probabilities, infinite probabilities, actually. So it's really fascinating on that side. So this is where they say, like, this is where Source dreams, is in the eighth. But here's what's interesting. So in the ninth is where Source gets the inspiration to dream. It's like the spark for the question that Source wants to answer, and just the intention behind it, the kind of the desire comes up from the ninth, right? Okay, that's kind of cool. So then what happens though? So now we're at the last three, right? The 10, 11, 12. This is where they change a lot more, because now we're getting rid of we're loosening form. So the individuation is also loosened, and so you're getting closer and closer to oneness. Okay, because here's the 12. Outside the 12, there is something that is reunification with oneness, is what happens there. It's like a different type of journey from that point. So this is very interesting, or very important to understand, because in 10, 11, 12, you're dealing much more with kind of like the operating system of the universe. It's where divine energy is flowing from outside of it into the 12th, 11th, 10th, and down, and spreads, right? So 10, 11, 12 has more to do with like an operating system. So it's like, the apps on your phone very well, but you don't know how they work, right? Like, and the operating system that they're sitting on that makes it all work, because it's complicated, right? And you don't really need to, because you know how to use your apps, and apps is what you actually use. 10, 11, 12 has more to do with the operating system. Not that helpful. If it's interesting to you, oh man, we can play, we can explore all of that. I'm happy to answer all these questions, because if it's interesting to you, then your soul wants to know something. Just play with it. I'm happy to answer these. But as far as taking information from the 10, 11, 12 and applying it to your life here in the third dimension, fourth, fifth, whatever, it's not that helpful. And I got confused on this too in my early journeys. I just kept wanting to go higher and higher in the dimensions. And I thought the higher you go, the higher the wisdom. I mean, that's how all the books show it. Like they've got these special, you know, beings that are in the ninth dimension, 11th dimension, 12th dimension. You know, I've heard all kinds, 15th and 30th and all this crap. That doesn't happen like that. So I want to clear that up so that you actually have the right idea how this works. So what happens though, when a soul gets to that 12th, they have an option. They have a choice. They can continue on in their journey into reunification with oneness, or they can turn around and help the other souls here in this one. And I had this opportunity. I had worked with Mother Earth early on, and I had wanted to go higher and higher and higher, much like probably you as you're searching around this information. And so she helped me out with this because it took a lot of grounding to do it. And so the stronger I could make the ground, the higher I could go. So over time, I was able to get all the way up to the 12th. Now, this was very strange because when I went from 10th, 11th to 12th, they all had a specific way that it felt when I crossed the border. It became more, like, let's say it became less dense, and it had a different texture. When I pressed from the 12th dimension out, this is where it was very different, and it felt very staticky, like it was like distorting me. I didn't know the information then, so it scared me. I'll admit it. It did scare me, so I kind of retracted, and I was like, "What is that?" And Mother Earth didn't fill in the blanks at the time, but she just said, "Listen, you've probably gone far enough." And I always wondered about that one. So it took me years until I finally found out what was going on with that, and that's the choice point. So some souls go on; it's their choice. It's totally cool. That's reunification with oneness. Here's the thing: can you go on and then come back? No. It's much like after you graduated elementary school and you continued on to middle school and then high school and then maybe college and on with your life. Would it make any sense for you to go back at this point in your life back to elementary school? Nah. I mean, to be like a fun, right? It's one of those things like, what would happen if we went back with all the information we have now? Look, you'd probably conquer the heck out of it, but you wouldn't really be learning much. And there's the difference. So going back after you're already at this place and your soul wants to continue with the reunification of oneness and move on to that expansion of yourself, it makes no sense to come back down here to the third dimension. It just doesn't make any sense. So they don't do that. They continue on. But here's the thing. If I had the choice, which I do, I turned around and come to help you guys. And so that's why I'm making all these videos. So please subscribe to here. I've got a bunch more stuff that's sure to shake the shit out of this world. But I want to clear up all the information out there because, yes, we're in the age of information, but it's a bunch of it is bullshit out there, just like the dimensions and this universe. Now you guys have a clear understanding of it and how it can actually help you. So subscribe, like this video, help out the algo, and I've got more coming for you guys.